welcome. You're watching Trending Tonight. My name is Sanket Upadhyay. Two stories we are tracking at this moment. Story number one, same state, same problem, violence. We are talking about the state of West Bengal, and this time around, it seems that an assassination attempt has been made on Mamata's Mantri. He is in the hospital right now. There is a Mamata versus Amit Shah battle which has peaked in West Bengal. It's interesting. Mamata Banerjee says no comment. The TMC says no comment from the BJP as far as this attack on her Mantri is concerned. She alleges that it is a BJP conspiracy. BJP is attempted to kill my Mantri, the TMC says. So we'll put that to a discussion in just a short moment. Our other story, petrol is at 100. But the Congress, it seems, is challenging Bollywood to say speak up. Now we'll talk about that. But the point is, what exactly did these celebrities say way back in 2012, 2013, as opposed to now? We'll put that also to a small discussion. But story number one, before we go any further, let's quickly make you listen to what Mamata Banerjee said and a reply from Amit Shah.
জাকিরকে খুন করে সরিয়ে দেওয়াটা ছিল এদের টার্গেট। যারাই করে থাকুক, আমি মনে করি এর পুরো তদন্ত হওয়া উচিত এবং আমরা ইতিমধ্যে সিট তৈরি করে দিয়েছি। বিজেপির একটা চক্রান্ত চলছে, মাথায় রাখবেন।
ममता दीदी की सह पर आज छिप कर बैठे हैं, उनको मैं कहना चाहता हूं, जहां छिपना वो छिप जाओ। भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनेगी, पाताल में से ढूंढकर जेल की सलाखों के पीछे आपको डालेंगे। ये तृणमूल कांग्रेस के नेता कहते हैं हम लोगों को वोट नहीं डालने देंगे। मैं आपको गारंटी देता हूं, चुनाव के दिन रोड पर टीएमसी का एक भी गुंडा आपको दिखाई नहीं पड़ेगा।
Leader of the BJP, Tuhin Sinha, Shikha Mukherjee, senior journalist, and Bishwajit Deb, a spokesperson of the TMC. Thank you very much to the three of you for joining us. Mr. Bishwajit Deb, what really is the allegation? Why does the TMC think that the attack was carried out by the BJP? Is there any proof?
See, the situation in Bengal has been deteriorating day by day at the instance of various violence activities committed by BJP. And BJP, in the name of political agenda, is trying to create a lawlessness situation in Bengal, whereby they can create a situation of fear and threat. And that's the net result which happened yesterday. And you should know that it happened within the premises of the Indian Railways. Railway is a place under, railway is within the domain of the government of India, and manning the security in the railway premises is the responsibility of the central government. And an entire incident took place within the premises of the railway station, that is within the territory of the Indian Railways. So central government must take.
But
the government
Mr. Deb,
of India
there is
must
also a
take the
force
full
called the GRP, the government
well, let me finish.
which is run by the state
let
administration.
me finish. And you will see that in this particular issue, there is not a single statement which has been issued by the BJP leadership condemning this attack and seeking a thorough inquiry whereby the culprits can be brought to book. They have not yet issued a statement to this particular effect.
Sure.
In fact, they are totally banking upon such issues whereby they can create a situation of lawlessness in the entire state.
Okay.
Just prior to the elections.
Okay, Shikha Mukherjee.
And this is what has happened.
Okay, Shikha Mukherjee, one moment. I'll come to you, Mr. Deb. You made your opening comment.
While
Shikha
you
Mukherjee,
see,
do you feel...
I'll take a minute. While you see the overall law and order situation in Bengal and the crime rate in Bengal is much less than any other part of India. This is not my statement. This is as per NCRB data.
Okay, so you allege that all of this is the BJP is doing. Tuhin Sinha is now back with us. Tuhin, the allegation is that there is an attempt to kill Mamata Banerjee's minister, right? And she alleges that this is the BJP's attempt. The TMC alleges that this is the BJP's handiwork. This is a conspiracy. And we do not see any statement from the senior leadership of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Surely you can condemn this act, no?
You know, Sanket, when you get into the habit of breeding snakes into your backyard, at some point of time, the snakes tend to bite you. This happened with Pakistan when they created the Taliban. And this is precisely what seems to be happening in Bengal. When you create a culture of violence, now more than 300 BJP workers have been killed in Bengal in the last few years and 100 in just the last 1.5 years. But forget that. The fact is that this culture of violence has gone on for a good 44 years, or of which the last 10 years have belonged to the TMC being in power. But I can tell you that, you know, I'm sure some of the Gunda elements, some of the antisocial elements which have been bred by the TMC are responsible for it. And on your show, I condemn the act. I think it's a reprehensible act which should be condemned no matter where it happens, if it happens in Kolkata or in any other part of the country.
No, but then my fear is, Mr. Sinha, do you feel that this is going to be a repeat of 2019 all over again? We saw that the one state that saw the most amount of turbulence was West Bengal, where Mamata Banerjee alleged that this is the BJP is doing. BJP alleged this is snakes in her backyard.
Unfortunately, Sanket, we need to be honest over here. The culture of violence in Bengal politics and elections goes back a good 44, 45 years. So Mamata Banerjee, who was supposed to bring in change in 2011, unfortunately only prolonged the basic character of CPIM and the Marxist politics. So it is now that people are realizing that Mamata Banerjee's regime has been no different from the communist rule which they saw, you know, from 1977 to 2011.
Sure.
The same goons who belong to the Communist Party are now a part of the TMC. And, you know, add to that her appeasement politics. If you look at some of the recent riots in the last few years, whether they were Bashirhat, Malda, all of them had a very strong imprint of illegal Bangladeshis, who she has surreptitiously
I'll have to give Mr.
Bengal.
Deb a right to reply on that. That's an important comment that you have made, a big allegation, and Mr. Deb will get a right to reply. But very quickly, Ms. Shikha Mukherjee, I want to come to you now. Do you feel that the violence in the run-up to the elections is only going to increase or peak, and that has become standardized or normalized by politics? And you know, the BJP always maintains, and I want to know your opinion, the BJP always maintains that if we were such a violent lot, we have fought elections in other states also, why does the violence happen only in West Bengal? How would you respond to this?
Well, two things. First part of the question, do I anticipate that the violence in West Bengal will continue to escalate? I certainly apprehend that. And I think that would be terrible, but that is what I apprehend. And if the BJP says that why in West Bengal is there so much violence just because it is making a pitch to win this election and its presence in other states has not triggered the same reaction? Well, you know, every state has its own culture. I mean, the political culture of Tamil Nadu is of one kind. The political culture of Punjab and Haryana and Uttar Pradesh is of a different kind. And in West Bengal, the political culture is of area domination. And area domination provokes this kind of culture, in my view. And I think that the BJP has done quite a bit in terms of retaliating, at least in terms of the words that it has used. I mean, its leaders have said that there will not be enough hospital beds when we begin to retaliate. There have been statements from the BJP leadership saying that if they think that the BJP is going to just take it and not counter the violence, then the TMC is mistaken.
Okay.
Now, these are essentially aggressive, provocative comments. And clearly, no one is missing a beat on how to deal with the aggression, both verbally as well as intellectually.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Deb, would you like to respond to the allegation made by Mr. Sinha just a short while ago against the TMC?
I would like to respond definitely.
Yeah.
But I would like to respond on one particular issue. Why not? You speak about the development which has been done in Bengal since the last 10 years. You are saying that you will make Sonar Bangla. What about Sonar Bharat? 7.5 years could you make Sonar Bharat? You are talking about Sonar Bangla? One should know that the development work which has been done under the leadership of Mamata Banerjee since the last 10 years, you cannot deny that. You get free healthcare, you get free education, you get free ration, you get everything, almost everything free from the time a child is born till a person dies. You get everything free here in Bengal. You talk about the development. We have the guts to submit our report card. We have done the Bangodhwani Jatra in Bengal, where we have submitted our report cards to the people of Bengal. While I would request the central government that you submit your report card,
Sure,
what you
Mr.
have
Sinha,
done since the last
do you
7.5
take up this
years.
challenge?
Let us know.
Well, the measures listed by my, the panelists from the TMC are pretty surprising because it reeks of the most retrograde form of socialism. If everything is free in Bengal, why hasn't it prevented migration of Bengalis to other states? If you check the data, the migration and the mass migration of younger Bengalis has only increased over the years. Where are the industries? If you make everything free, that is not development. I'm sorry, you are actually taking the state back to the age-old, the age of, like I said, the worst form of socialism in the 60s and 70s. That is not what India wants. India wants private entities. Young India wants private entities, private industries to set up their base in Bengal. Has that happened in the last 10 years? Has migration of Bengalis stopped? That has only increased. So I don't know what development. The only development that may have taken place is the, in industry of Tolabazi. Everything comes for a cut. That is why, I agree they have some great schemes on paper, but that hasn't reflected, that hasn't translated into the ground. And why this confrontationist attitude with the center? Why drop the health scheme?
No, but while, see, this sort of debate nobody has a problem with. The problem is when there is violence on the ground, and we've seen this in 2019. Mr. Sinha, the tone and tenor that is taken. I
would request you to also recall the, some of the by-elections which took place in November 2019 when one of the BJP candidates was kidnapped. So in the last few years, if you specifically look at the number of local BJP candidates who have been fighting, panchayat elections and local, their relatives have been attacked. Many of them have been killed. So they have done everything possible to circumvent or inhibit the growth of BJP in the
but
state,
assassination attempt on a mantri, this is a new law,
that
and
is absolutely condemnable.
In the run-up to the polls, how much worse will it become is the bigger cause of worry. But thank you very much to the three of you for joining us on our discussion number 1. Let's move to discussion number 2. Before we do that, Mr. Nana Patole, who's the chief of the Maharashtra Congress, he basically said this. Akshay Kumar, Amitabh Bachchan tweeted about fuel price when it was Manmohan Singh government. Why don't they tweet now? I challenge them. Want you to make your stance clear on the unfair practices of the Modi government. And then he threatens that if you don't do this, we won't allow you, we won't let you shoot or release movies otherwise. Now, if a person or a celebrity is not speaking, why should a member of a government, he is part of the government in Maharashtra, why should he threaten that movies will not be allowed? But having said that, keeping this aside, what was the position of these celebrities back in the UPA regime and now? So you've got Akshay Kumar, who tweeted, couldn't even get to my house at night, for all of Mumbai was queuing up for petrol before prices rocketed again. Now this tweet was, if I can gather, I think this was on the 16th of May 2011, right? And now a big question mark. He hasn't spoken so far. Let's look at the next tweet. Amitabh Bachchan, petrol up 7.5, pump attendant, kitne ka dalu, Mumbaikar, 2-4 rupees ka dal do, car pe spray kar do, jalana hai, right? Of course, it's fine. It's important to talk about this. But what is the superstar saying now? Nothing. Many other comments also, like Anupam Kher, he spoke about it when the UPA 2 was in power. No comments as of this moment. And this list just goes on and on. You've got Akshay Kumar again, a tweet that was deleted later, but he said, guys, it's time to clean up your bicycles and hit the road as per sources expecting another petrol hike. No comment so far. So these comments go on and on. Rajat Sethi as well as Shama Mohammed now join us for a discussion on this. Many people would call this, Rajat, double standards of celebrities, but again, you're no spokesperson from them. It will be unfair on my part to ask you to comment on their not commenting. But the point is, don't you think that there is an alarming amount of silence from the government, from people at large, from influencers, people who want to tweet for India being together, which they must, should also be representing the voice of the people when petrol is touching 100? It's crazy.
Well, Sanket, there are so many layers to this. We also understand that why is the price what it is today. We know that
Taxes, yes.
tax collection for the country has been muted for the past 1 year due to COVID circumstances. And at the end of the day, for the government to function, for the state governments to function, they all need to have their share of revenue being collected from one source.
Why doesn't the government be honest? Rajat, the government should come out and say, listen, we have suffered a lot of losses. We are going to tax you extensively, 60-65% tax on petrol. Please bear with us. It's for your own good. Have this honesty.
Sanketji, ideally speaking, when the prices are out and it's into a regime where every day the prices fluctuate, there has been some recent increase in even the dollar rates of crude oil. We all understand that, and the government also understands that. And even, by the way, even the Congress-ruled state governments also understand that, because they are the ones who are imposing VAT. So minus the politics, the plain economics of it is that yes, all of these extra added duties adds burden on the common people. But also remember that all of this tax collection aggregation is important for ultimate goal of the government.
No, I agree with you. But is this the way to go for your, to correct your fiscal deficit? Shama Mohammed is also with us. Shama, how would you respond to that point of celebrities not speaking now? That's one. Secondly, when the Congress party says we won't allow films to be released or shooting to happen, that's a bit much. Then not speaking, you can question their double standards. But not allow films to be released, what is this?
Let me explain to you. First and foremost, I think these actors have become spineless. They talk on one side when they said, we had to take cycles before 2014. Now both of them have shut their mouth, and somebody such as Amitabh Bachchan, who's a very strong influencer for the youth. I mean, even now, he is admired and revered by a lot of Indians. So he should definitely come. And Akshay Kumar too, who is revered by Indians. He should come out and tell the truth.
Yeah, but then why ban their movies?
I'm coming to that, Sanket. You don't have patience, my dear. Number two, he came out and said later on, he said that, that was not what was intended. Hum virod karenge. That is what he said. We're going to oppose what they do, this sort of thing, what they do, but not ban their movies. So that he has corrected himself. Now, let me just speak on what Rajat said. He said, due to this COVID crisis, people will understand. Last year, the excise duty was 19.98 for petrol, and for diesel was 15.23, which has jumped up now to 33 and 32 respectively, petrol and diesel. Can you understand one thing? He said it's because of COVID. Now, let's understand the other aspect of COVID. People do not have work. People are suffering. And that's when the government increases the excise duty when we have deregulated petrol after 2010. So when you mean by deregulation is when the petrol prices go up, the consumer's price goes up. When the petrol prices go down, the consumer price goes down. Now, to what he said that because of COVID, all the governments have suffered and, we didn't get revenue, I want to ask him, in 2015, when the petrol price hit nearly $30 and $50 a barrel, why was the petrol, for us, oil prices, we were still paying 71, 75, 79, how it fluctuated. That is something which the government they don't have an answer. What happened to that revenue of 20 lakh crore? We want the white paper? No. Before 2014, up to 2010, it was regulated. After 2010, it was deregulated. When it was deregulated, let me tell you, Sanket, in 2011, the petrol price was $104 a barrel. And we were paying 51 here. Look at how the Congress government supported the people. And in 2014, before they just came, it was $108 a barrel.
Let me get in a response.
Rajat,
it is true that the crude oil price per barrel is low. It is certainly not what it was in 2013. This is a fact. So all of what you see increasing right now are taxes, massive, massive taxes.
No, Sanketji,
Is
I'll
this the
just
right
point out
time to
one-
tax people so heavily?
What about ask him about 2015? Why did the government not
Okay,
reduce the
let
price
him
that
answer.
time? What are they doing with this revenue?
But he
That's
would
what we
only
want
be
to know.
able
Robbing
to answer, yeah,
nine
if he lets him.
MLAs. That's
Rajat.
what you're doing.
Rajat's answer. Yeah.
Allow me to please can explain. See, Congress has this my bap hangover which carries on even till this date. They believe that, oh, we were the ones who ensured that the price even when it was $100 thing, we ensured it is 50 rupees. Ma'am, you would be aware as to how much amount of these subsidies were actually paid by the taxpayers. It is not like you were printing notes in your personal factories.
Can I come in?
Remember that difference, number one. Number two, we also know that we moved out of the regime when there were heavy amount of subsidies and which were fiscally unsustainable. Those subsidies on petrol and diesel
were also going
which
from the
even
taxpayers'
climate
money.
change activists
Okay.
wouldn't have
No,
supported.
but the point is, Rajat, the larger question is that the burden is now. The burden is
Ultimately,
now.
it is
Petrol is touching
nationwide.
100. The burden is now. The man on the street is without a job, and this is additional burden.
Fair enough, Sanketji. I agree with that, and I think the government should look into it and try and give a breather for the common people. But should this be the way, or there should be alternate ways? One has to
This
look
very
into that.
government has led by example. They led with a tax cut. I remember in Modi, the first tenure, petrol and diesel had a 5 rupee cut. The centre did it. Why can't the centre do it now? Shama Mohammed, do you think that's the way to go forward? And also, Congress governments must lead by example in the state. Why don't you lead by example? Cut it in Maharashtra, Punjab, Rajasthan.
Can I comment on that? See, always
Yeah.
the central government, first of all, wasn't giving the GST. You know the issue, what happened. States are also dry, with revenue.
That's
because of the
the
COVID.
centre's
But
logic
central
also.
Let me come into that. Center has definitely other revenues more than the state, but let me listen to this. Sanket, he has never explained in 2015 why did the taxes go up so high, and then what we did to subsidize. He said about taxes, we issued oil bonds which were worth 1.44 lakh crores, which they come out and say, they come out on their Twitter handle saying that they are the ones who paid the oil bonds, when in the Rajya Sabha, their own minister says it was only 3,500 crores, just like Vajpayee issued oil bonds in 2002,
Okay.
2003.
Okay,
We paid those
oil bonds is an issue
those
for
were the
which
way-
we need
those
so
were the
much time to
legislation.
discuss.
No, what I'm trying to say is that's how we subsidize it. He was
Correct.
saying that, subsidies
I
paid.
think-
I'm just
Tell
telling
you what,
great subsidies.
For
But
fairness in
right
this
now-
debate,
Right now, it is horrendous to increase it
okay,
so high.
the point
When
is,
we could do it,
there
we could do
has
it
to be
when
time out, hard
100
stop on this discussion because I've run out of time, but Shama Mohammed as well as Rajat Sethi, thank you. The point is that this is not the time to impose such heavy taxes simply because you want your fiscal deficit to be corrected. That's not the time. It's almost like Teen Guna Lagan. That's the sort of influence it is happening on the ground. Do we want to do that to our people? What really should the government do? You decide. And certainly, blaming film stars, yes, they spoke up then and they've not spoken up now. I don't know, whatever their reason may be. But the real people who can offer solutions are those sitting in power, not actors. That's all the time we have in this edition of Trending Tonight. News continues on the other side. Stay with us.